the great conservative movement of America and of our time. A brush fire of freedom that's being lit all over this country. We, as an irate, tireless American populace, will overcome the few radical leftists that control the levers of power today. Joe Biden's failed economic policies has given us inflation like you can't believe, and the border is in disarray.
It's amazing how few of the people commenting on this have actually bothered to go see what's happening. Well, Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona actually went to the border.
Biggs, where's Andy? Boy, oh boy, Andy. There's a guy. He's tough.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of What's the BIGGS Idea? It's our regular podcast. I am thrilled that you be along with us today. I have a tremendous guest, a friend of mine, leads the great organization FreedomWorks. He's done a super job there. And and he's just written a new book, which I can't promote, but I can tell you that he just wrote a new book. And Adam Brandon, thanks for joining me today.
Well, thanks very much for having me. I mean, you're getting all the accolades over here. You're one of the best congressmen that the whole country looks up to. So our activists from across the country, whether they're in Ohio or Florida, they want to get someone like Biggs representing them.
Adam, thanks so much. I appreciate that. And you know, we're talking today. I got to make sure I read all the good stuff about you. Mm-hmm. His new book is American Perspective, right?
America in Perspective.
Right.
It's out now. Actually, it was funny. It's a supply chain nightmare of a story. The paperback comes out before the hardback, and it was supposed to come out on June 26th, July 26th. And about 3 weeks before the publication date, my phone starts blowing up. Hey, just got your book. I'm like, you're not supposed to get this book for weeks. Yeah. Amazon just shipped them.
So is that right?
So it was a rolling start.
Man. Well, you know, that's great because there's so much in the country that people have a tough time getting on time, much less early. Yeah.
I'm glad it's going out early, not late. So
yeah.
Yes, American Perspective, worked very hard on it. So, and Christmas is right around the corner.
That's hilarious. Well, you know, today we want to talk a little bit about America greatness. And actually, I know you probably saw this. We had people on one of my committees actually literally say, America's not the best country in the world. This Canada's better. This country's better. And they go through this thing. And I thought, you want to know why we can't get to greatness again? Mm-hmm. We've got people like this standing in the way. So we're going to talk about American greatness. We'll talk a little bit about the challenges that we have today.
Sure. And
then how we protect this great country. So I want to play clip number one, which is to introduce this topic, because I think you'll recognize this guy.
All right.
So here comes clip number one.
Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advance beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Stirring words from President Ronald Reagan.
You give that speech today and it 100% translates.
Exactly right. And how did we become, at least at some point in our history, the greatest country, perhaps in the history of the world, with the incredible freedom, prosperity? How did we get there?
Look, I just want to react to something first, and then I want to get back to that.
Yes,
that's such an important topic that if you get that right, you can get a lot of other things right. But when I listen to Reagan speak, I reflect on the fact I was born in 1978. So I was conscious of the Reagan years at the end there.
Right.
But 1983 is a very important year to me when I think about the future of the country, because 51% of Americans today were born after 1983.
Right. That's right.
And
That's
so a lot of folks, they don't have zero recollection when it comes to like the fall of the Berlin Wall, what things like socialism actually meant. Maybe their first political moment was 9/11. Maybe it was the crash of 2007. They kind of came along later and they missed some of that. So like it's almost exhausting. We're having to relitigate some of these arguments. Like, geez, I thought 1989 and the collapse of the Berlin Wall solved this for us.
Right.
But here we are. But what Reagan said is so true. You do have to stay engaged and keep re-educating and re-talking about these founding principles. Getting back to your first question there. And I think, but I think this great awakening we're seeing in this country right now about school boards and all is I think we were a little asleep at the switch. We were worried about, say, liberal bias on the college campuses, and we forgot that there was this pipeline that started in high school, in 8th grade, in 6th grade, in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of the effects of that today. Now, the good news is I think a lot of that indoctrination is only not even an inch deep. But that means that we have our work cut out for us. So that first question about those basic fundamentals, in this book I wrote, it was a great chance to kind of reflect on that. And when I came up with, and my co-author David Sokol came up with, and David and I, David he's run multiple successful companies, energy companies, NetJets, lots of incredible companies. It was fantastic getting his perspective. But meritocracy at the base is what this country is about. And this is why you do have people risking all to get here, because we have that system of meritocracy.
Talk about, because some people may not realize what we mean when we say meritocracy.
Meritocracy, to me, let me take one step even further back on the American dream. I think there's this misconception on the American dream, meaning you're going to have a bigger car than your parents and a better house than your parents did.
Right.
That's like a material dream. And the American dream is about the liberty and the freedom to go and make your American dream. Whatever you are passionate about in this country, you should have the opportunity to chase that dream. And that's where, to me, a meritocracy kicks in. If you want to put the work in to be a multimillionaire, billionaire, you can do it here. Every day is littered with examples of people who are self-made and who have done that. If your goal is to be a firefighter, if your goal is to be you want to have a great big family, whatever that dream is you want to do, that to me is the American dream, that you have the opportunity to dream. Right. And so a meritocracy to me is you are your own biggest enemy when it comes to your success. You are your own biggest champion when it comes to your success. It is up to you. And this is what I think, what I fear is, like, if America has never been a country of victimization. America has never been a country that shies away from the struggle, because that challenge that you have, that obstacle that you have, that is what has defined us. And so a meritocracy is the people who are able to get those challenges and overcome those challenges should have all the success and the accolades that are due to them.
Right. I mean, I love that. I love the way you've put that. For me, I've always looked at America as, like you say, it's a land of opportunity. I mean, this is what we used to call it, land of opportunity. And what would happen is, and this is the part I just love about America, is you get your choice. You get to choose, but you might fail. But you get to get up again.
But to me, that meritocracy is that you want people to have an equal chance,
exactly,
but not equal outcomes.
Right.
And I think that this is nauseating for me on the outside, watching you guys do your work in here. And I can only imagine what it's like on the inside. Is that people are trying to really force equal outcomes. And that goes to the heart of a meritocracy. And if you do that, there's the other part that was so unique about this country is the rule of law.
Yeah.
And the minute you start ripping that rule of law out, I mean, if you have a meritocracy and you have the rule of law, to me, that is the foundation to get us forward through anything. But you do away with those two facets of our society, then we are just like everybody else. And if you're like everybody else, boy, the world's really losing something.
If you take away the accountability for choice, which are the outcomes, so when you basically centralize the outcomes in government, they're going to determine the outcomes. you lose the chance to excel. You because you will move I call it regressing to the mean. You're going to go down to the lowest common denominator, and we're all going to be mediocre instead of allowing some people to rise and pull us all along.
When I was in graduate school and I was studying in Poland,
yeah,
I remember I asked one of my professors, if there's something you look at that's just brilliant about the American economic system, what is it? And he said, your bankruptcy laws. I'm like, what? Wait, I thought you were going to say capital markets or this or that. And he's like, no, in the United States, if you fail, you can declare bankruptcy and wipe out your debts. And then he said the next point, and that means the people who loan you that money have to price in risk. So you have risk built into your system. And he's like, in other places, you kind of coddle those, you don't allow the bankruptcy. So basically then you're trying to manage the risk. And so I've always kept that with me. And when I look at a lot of policy that I hear today, I hear a whole lot of trying to outlaw and risk and trying to manage risk. And part of what being an American is having the guts to have risk.
Right. And well, I just voted on a bill that is ostensibly going to take away risk for mega corporations. And
boy, that sounds like a terrible idea.
well, you're gonna basically mitigate some of their risk, and that is a terrible idea. To the tune of what, 200? What were we talking about?
$280
billion dollars, and that means since we don't have enough money to pay for that, guess who we're mitigating the risk upon?
So let's get this right. We're doing this bill so we can compete against China.
Yeah.
And probably we're going to have to borrow so we're going to be more like China with government intervention in the marketplace and all that.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a loan from China to do it, and that's going to help us compete against China.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's kind of pretzel logic, isn't it?
It is.
I struggle to understand it, but I mean,
how about this? How about we fully exploit our energy resources? How about we fully exploit our population's educational opportunities? How about we fully exploit having the lowest regulatory burden, and then see if people will build their factories here?
Absolutely. So that's exactly what I was telling someone earlier today. I said, if we lowered the tax burden, if we reduce the regulatory burden, and then we take a look at and we punish people who are cheating us, because I'm an open market guy. I'm a free market guy. But if you're cheating, then we're going to have to find a way to deter you from cheating and punish you and keep you from distorting our market. You can't have a distorted marketplace by somebody who's cheating, unless you've built it in. And we're not building it in because we're doing the same thing. The government is actually distorting the marketplace today. And so,
but then what happens 5 years from now?
Yeah,
do you have to re-up this thing, and now it's 380 billion or 580 billion? Because once you get on this gravy train, man, that's hard to get off of.
You're exactly right. And the other thing that needs to be considered about it is, if you want to add inflationary pressure, just keep having the government spend money, especially when it doesn't own it, and you will devalue that currency, which
we still have how many hundreds of billions of dollars from COVID that's been appropriated and not spent.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the corporations, one thing that I was alarmed with, I saw that Boeing Corporation has recently relocated its headquarters to the DC metro area.
Oh yeah.
And that makes me very nervous for when a private companies like that decide, you know what, we want to be closer to Washington, DC. That's a bad indicator. And to me, I am so optimistic about the future of the country, but those are the things that make me worry that you could lose that's the stuff that kills the goose that lays the golden egg.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a big believer that we have integrated too much government interference into the marketplace and in private sector. Enormous.
Maybe I'm just a simple guy, but you just create the most competitive environment to host your business in the world, and I'll let it sort itself out from there. And that is our great strength. Our people is our great strength.
Yeah.
We have tremendous resources. The number that just bothers me so much, just a few years ago under President Trump, we were pumping 15 million barrels a day out of our earth.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're down to 12. And you want to know when that young mother pulls up to put gas in her car and her gut drops when she sees what's going into her tank, and that means she can't do ballet class, they can't do the Disney World trip. Well, somewhere in that equation are those 3 million barrels that are sitting that should be under production, earning money for hardworking people in the energy industry and making a lot of dreams possible for the rest of us.
Absolutely. I mean, folks, we're talking about just this incredible country that has provided more people, more opportunity than any other nation in the history of the world. More people have flourished. You've had the biggest and most robust middle class that any country could have ever imagined. We were actually closing the gaps so that more people, as they moved into the middle class, people were had the opportunities.
Yeah, I looked at there is some statistics showing that the middle class is shrinking, but the upper middle class is exploding. And you look at all those. You go back to that 2019 economy and the wage growth at for the working class and laboring classes in the United States were tremendous, and you didn't have inflation to take it all away.
That's right. And you also you had more people in the workforce than ever before. You also had more people in the workforce from every demographic, all coming up with higher wages, and they were real. It was real growth.
So this, to me, is a huge opportunity. We were talking about Ronald Reagan earlier. And you have to reteach these lessons. Well, that economic story from 2019 versus what we have today, that is an incredible real life. You lowered taxes. You guys passed some great legislation that set that up. That wasn't an accident to go. Just wasn't some random thing. That was policy. You had stability in the currencies. You were able stability in inflation, and you had some bad policy changes, and boom, here we are today.
Yeah, I mean, I want to add a couple things to that, because I think contextually, you also saw quiescence around the world because the policies of Trump in 2019. The Abraham Accords, withdrawal from JCPOA. So you were actually providing some stability in the Mideast that we'd not ever seen before. He was,
which is incredible. When I was
in our lifetime,
up, my dad would tell me stuff like, "You'll never see this happen." And I remember, Dad, you're seeing it happen.
That's right, exactly. And then you go to Russia, and he develops an ability to, I don't know whether it was a friendly ability or what however you would call it. Some people called it strategic confusion, but in any event, with Russia. So Putin, if people forget, Putin actually placed his military on the borders of Ukraine in 2020, and basically there was a discussion that I know took place. Putin removed his military. He wasn't going to do it. Xi Jinping, he was not threatening Taiwan. So and Kim Jong-un had basically slowed down or dismantled his nuclear program. That kind of world quiescence also allows us to project strength economically and with military power. Those are types of things I think most people forget about, how that international relationship was. And he was telling the world, which I thought was really important, the U.S. isn't going to bail you out and help you out all over the place. You're going to have to stand alone. America will go first, and we're going to take care of our own.
Well, it's kind of just a responsible thing when you're looking at $30+ trillion in debt.
Exactly.
That is, you got to get your own house in order here. And the way I was raised is, first, take care of yourself, then take care of your family, then take care of your community. Like, make sure you're squared away. In the book, I thought was fantastic. We were looking at all these statistics.
Yeah.
And one of the statistics just was eye-popping to me, was the success of Nigerian Americans in the United States. These are the illegal immigrants who are coming over from Nigeria. If this is such a systemically racist and broken country, how is it that Nigerian Americans are at the very top of the economic ladder? And I think when you peel it back, what it is they take time they make sure that they get through school, get their education, then they work, then they get married, then they have their kids, and it's like you look at how that works, and they're taking full advantage of all the opportunities that the United States has offered to them. And there's really no obstacles in their way. And to me, that's the optimism I see, the strength that the society has. And I don't think those people are feeling that they're victims of anyone.
Right. I mean, man, I'm glad you brought that up because there's a class here in Congress, as you know, that will tell everybody you're a victim. You will not be able to succeed. It is systematically stacked against you. So they'll tell you there's almost no point.
But when you think of those images from Ellis Island from 100 years ago,
oh yeah,
it wasn't come here and we'll give you a bunch of free crap. Like, no, that was never the image was come on over here, but woo, it's going to be rough. You're going to, that's what my ancestors did. You're going to go into some steel mills and you're probably going to have to do some really rough work, but you're going to create an opportunity to improve your life, and then you're going to get, again, the American dream. It's not transferring just better goods. It's your kids are going to have opportunities to chase their dreams that maybe you weren't able to.
It becomes, so a lot of people say,
there's risk. That's all risk. There's no guarantee.
Exactly. And people say America doesn't have a culture. We have a culture. The culture is freedom, risk, reward,
optimism, looking forward to the future,
belief, faith.
And one thing I also did in this book is I look back at history, because we do have a lot. I'm not saying American history is perfect. I don't know anyone who does. Slavery existed. You had all kinds of things that happened in the past. But when you look at what we've been able to do, this is something else I think about in global history. The United States is the most successful multi-ethnic country in global history.
Absolutely.
I mean, go back throughout time, can't do it. You cannot find a multi-ethnic country as this successful. And today, what are we going to look at? Brazil? No. So yes, it's not perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect, but give it a break for a second and look at the opportunity that your colleagues that you're talking about, put it in perspective and what we're working with here. It is tremendous what we're able to do with them. And if you don't learn this lesson, Congressman, and I'll get off my soapbox here in a second, but if you don't learn the lesson, what is the lesson for history? If multi-ethnic societies don't work, that means the lesson for history is genocide does.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, oh my gosh, this has been fun here. Okay, we're facing some criticism in the world rankings. Our national debt's terrible. We've had a decline in civil society. Our government is now overreaching and expanding, threatening our freedoms, all that you and I have been talking about. You've got border issues. You've got crime issues. You've got energy. You brought up energy earlier. You're exactly right. We have basically in all these areas. It has been, as Abraham Lincoln would say, nobody else is going to beat us. We're going to beat ourselves.
Right?
And that's what we're doing. So I want to play you a clip here. So we got clip number 2, and let's talk to a little bit about some of our external pressures as well as internal pressures that we need to correct.
The NBA makes billions of dollars in the Chinese market, and it's apparently siding with Beijing, calling Daryl Morey's tweet regrettable. The NBA's response is also raising questions over the lengths that businesses in the U.S. are willing to go to stay in favor with the Chinese government for access to the lucrative Chinese market.
Hollywood's bargain for Chinese market access, accepting censorship for a chance at a box office hit.
That President Biden could soon roll back tariffs on some imports coming to us from China.
Forrest Gump of shady international business dealings, of course, referring to Hunter Biden. Emails from his laptop reportedly showing that the president's son tried to broker a $120 million oil deal between a Chinese energy firm now under U.S. sanctions. How can we trust anything the Biden administration does with regard to China when each week we see another bombshell link between this family and the CCP?
What a beautiful history we wrote together.
I probably shouldn't laugh, but I don't know, if you don't laugh, you cry.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. So we look and we see. Used to be when I was doing grad school, we thought of China as, kind of a backward nation economically. Deng Xiaoping had just come to power, and it was not really developing. He was trying to change it into this kind of what do they call it? communism with Chinese
Chinese characteristics,
whatever, and we've empowered the CCP, which a lot of people don't realize. CCP has more people in it, the Chinese Communist Party, than we have in the United States of America. If you're not in the CCP, you're a second-class citizen in China, and you don't enjoy this robust middle class that they have today. But we've given them technology. They've stolen technology. They're no longer merely an economic competitor. Now they're a geopolitical adversary.
And that's something when you go back to the competition the United States had with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was never an economic competitor.
Right.
They were a political competitor. But if at the end of the Cold War, look, it was Reagan hitting the accelerator of U.S. growth that was able to spin off a lot of new technology that the Soviet Union just did not have the chance to compete with. This is a completely different thing.
Right.
And I was in a debate with someone recently, and we were talking about China, and they pointed out a very true fact that if you look at the last 20 centuries in human civilization, China had the largest economy in 18 of those last 20.
Right.
So they have always been a strong competitor. But I look at competition as good in the sense that it should bring out your best. This goes back to, I do worry about China, but I worry more about if we get it wrong here at home domestically first and foremost, then we have no shot at competing with them.
Fair
so
comment, yeah.
I think there are things that you do internationally. I think they understand strength. I don't think they will respect you if you're strong. And
do we have that kind of strong leadership? Do we have leadership that we need to deal with China, who's I view as a total realist nation?
It's a total realist nation.
Yeah.
And again, I think, but you just look at the montage that you just laid out there. Yeah. The kindest thing I think I could say is I don't think the United States is projecting global leadership at the moment. If I was
how diplomatic you are, Adam. Come on, man.
But I would actually just, if you look at it is almost embarrassing to me when I start to see, like I got this email from someone who was a partner with NATO, and it was talking about the NATO response. And there was a summit, and one of the biggest things they were talking about was gender inequality.
Right.
So,
that's right.
You're talking about a shooting war with missiles, with guns and bullets, and we're talking about gender equality.
Yeah.
Come on, this is a military. This is militaries do what militaries do, and you have these other debates in other parts. But I think about with China, if we're running around and our major issue is we're going to sit down and try and, can you imagine this? We're going to sit down and try and talk about climate change with China.
Oh, they're building a coal-fired plant every week.
I mean, that's what global leadership is going to be. Now, global leadership to me is like, let's build those relationships with India, with those commercial relationships, those trade relationships, those social relationships, those political relationships. That to me is. But I go back to this first point. I think right now we have a couple of elections coming up, a couple cycles.
Right.
This is still a center-right country. It's time to reorient our politics back to what a center-right country believes in. Get the economy back on track. You kind of bring, and I think that economic growth is going to help. I just look at how Hispanic America is just jumping into the GOP right now. And I think that's because they're aligning. They're seeing they're going to start voting with their values. Those are the trends I want to look at, and then we'll see what this competition with China is going to be.
Yeah, great point. I mean, because we can control. We're still in control of our own destiny.
We still are,
and that's
still are.
And some of my friends and colleagues are pretty cynical about it. I believe that we still are.
If you believe in freedom.
Yeah.
If you believe in freedom, you still believe that we can speak all these problems we're talking about, we can solve. But that's only if the nation still remains committed to liberty and committed to freedom.
Yeah, and I the woke movement, I like to say, has awakened America.
It has,
and it really has. And I mean,
look, you brought there's the image of the NBA.
Yeah,
the NBA has brought great joy in my life. I love professional sports, but that is a unifying thing. But what they're doing with China, that's shocking.
Yeah.
That you have players that are very quick to criticize what's happening here. And some of those criticisms are justifiable, but then they go overseas and it's just like they put these glasses on that they can't see that. And what they're criticizing here is tenfold over there. I mean, the Chinese are locking up, the Uyghur population.
They've got concentration camps, for Pete's sakes.
And the worst thing is they might be making the very tennis shoes that these guys are over there trying to sell.
You're using them for slave labor. I mean, it's just, it's radical.
Talk about pretzel logic there.
Yeah. But they justify it, only by how much money they can make. And I'm go ahead, make money, but let's be honest anyway. Let's be honest with it. Let's get to a couple of additional things. I think we want to watch. I want to watch one more clip here.
Sure.
And let's do clip number 3.
I don't like debt for the country. For the country, 21 trillion, not billion, $21 trillion. I will tell you, we are sitting on a time bomb.
I don't want to hear any more of these lies about reckless spending. We're changing people's lives.
The day I took the oath of office, we ended the war on American energy and we stopped the far left assault on American energy workers.
But I want you to look in my eyes. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel.
But all Americans are hurt by uncontrolled, illegal migration.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I have so much to react to there. I wish we had 3 hours left on the podcast.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first thing, let's say I'm sitting here and I 100% believe in climate change, 100% believe that this is a major crisis about to hit.
Right.
100%. I'm going to take the whole argument. I would be the biggest person pushing for natural gas. It's a clean fuel. It's going to last. It's cheap. It's going to, you're going to replace all, the dirtier forms of energy. I would be sitting here saying I'm all for nuclear power. I'd be all, and they're going to push windmills. We're going to end fossil fuels. If you actually cared about that problem, natural gas is this incredible thing that has been given to you. And then we're going to have these goals, right? Of electric cars. 97% of our grid is already spoken for. Right. Where are you going to get this power? And so where are you going to permit? You got to permit these lines. You got to build pipelines. There is so much that you're going to have to do for that clean energy economy that they're talking about.
And what are you going to use to fuel the electric plants to charge your EVs? They won't even let us mine.
What blows my mind is you hear these people here in D.C. talking about we're going to start selling all this natural gas to Germany now.
I saw that.
Them. Well, how are you going to ship it there? You need LNG terminals, and ours are at capacity. Exactly. That means you're going to have to build things and put steel in the ground, and you're going to have to do a lot. And even if you wanted to build that LNG facility today, you'd have to start today, and in 5 years it would be up.
That's right. No, I mean there's so much to talk about. So we're just talking energy. We didn't even talk about the fiscal irresponsibility of Congress.
Oh, yeah.
Because
and that's what I came to this town to do, Congressman. That is always, I wanted to be there. My dream is to be that guy that's standing in the back of the room when the president signs the bill that you get the budget rebalanced but that's when we talked about $280 billion, and that number pains me. But in the back of your mind, it's like, well, it's not $1 trillion. I mean, that's the world we are in now, where $280 billion almost sounds like chump change compared to trillions of dollars. Like that just doesn't work.
I'll share a story. I don't think I've ever shared this story with you. So,
this is off the record, right?
No, this is real. I never shared this with you. There's others I haven't shared with you too. But when I first got to DC, and I'm in Freedom Caucus, and their leadership's giving me a hard time. So I'll tell you what. I will tell you when I'm going to vote no against the rest of the conference. If you guys if you whip a yes, and I'm going to vote no, I'll let you know. Mm-hmm. So they're whipping yes on this bill. And this bill is to create a small department that will investigate what departments need to be eliminated.
The Department of the Department?
The Department.
This sounds like a Kamala Harris speech.
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm here because I'm here, and you're here because I'm here. Anyway,
and we have this department to fix the other departments.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And I said, I'm going to be voting no on that. And when it's like my second day here, I said, there's no way I can justify it because we're members of Congress. We should be doing oversight and know what
is that your job?
Oversight agencies, programs, departments that should be eliminated. So I go and one of the members says, "Why are you voting no on this, Andy?" I said, "Well, it seems redundant, stupid. It's our responsibility to take care of it, and plus it spends $30 million." This was the attitude that most people have here. This individual said to me, $30 million, that doesn't even fill in the ink on the decimal on our national budget. And I'm like, if
maybe that's the problem.
That could just be the problem. First of all, this program is stupid and unnecessary, and we're going to spend $30 million, and we're going to justify by saying, well, it's not that much. It's not that much. And I've seen people say, well, it's only 12 million here. It's only $1 million. It's only 45 million. You can justify virtually any amount of spending.
But isn't that the gateway drug?
Yeah.
If we're going to spend 45 million here, and they're going to do that, next thing you know, well, to get my 45 million for that my thing, I got to go along with this $1 billion thing. I got to ask you a question. The time remaining, because I'm in next year. Give me some hope here that we could start returning to some regular order and actually start having some debates on things. And then we could actually do some real budgets where we start doing the oversight. I mean, I am just praying that the next leadership isn't just going to roll us right into continuing resolutions.
Yeah. So so the House Freedom Caucus just put out a rules package yesterday, and the idea is to return us to normal, or to regular order. And what for regular order, we're talking debates, committee hearings.
What?
Yeah, I know it. Debates, committee hearings, open rule amendments, right?
Votes?
Yes.
Votes on things?
Yeah. Could be, we want roll call votes on everything, and people get mad at us. And so in the suspension votes, non-roll call votes that they were doing the other day, like 25 of them or something, it was spending a ton of money, but nickel and diming it through these 25 bills. So there's that. That's one piece of hope, is I think the Freedom Caucus rules, if we could get some of those rules in.
And I've always said the
good.
Freedom Caucus is the legacy of the Tea Party movement. Like, is this the longest? That's the permanent change. So I am so bullish and so grateful of what you and your members do, because it's one thing for us on the outside. I know it's very hard on the inside. You have to walk into these meetings and get those looks. Yeah, it's easier said than done. I know.
Well, the other part that I think I want to say I hope will give us hope is this notion of actually outlining what we're going to do and sticking to it. Last time that the Republicans had the majority, we got that tax bill through. That was really critical but
it was a year or two late. Like we lost a year doing. And if you could have gotten Obamacare repeal done, which I don't even want to get into now, but if you got that done right, really, you had not you, but there was the opportunity. I believe Ryan has a lot of blame for missing that opportunity. You could have the 2018 and 2019 story.
I'm with you 100%. That's why I think we're going to need to know exactly what the general plan is, and then the specific plan of action.
It's not going to happen unless the Freedom Caucus delivers.
I agree with that too.
I just don't think. I think the pressure to go along and get along will be so. I can hear it right now. We need to be a responsible majority and not rock the boat. I can hear those speeches happening. It's really up to you and your allies to make sure that doesn't happen.
I agree with you, and so 2 years ago I started working on, and you were helping me work on a plan. I still have that plan. It's completed, and it's actually more timely now than it ever was, because we'd anticipated inflation and energy and all of these things in this package. And as we get ready, and I know that I have legislation that's ready. We've got to be able to go day one with this legislation. But I want to just tell you something, Adam, that's so critical. We're going to be living in a world where the majority Republican, Democrat. Senate majority Republican, probably, and then you're going to have Joe Biden sitting in the Oval Office. He's going to veto any meaningful legislation.
Okay, I'm fine. Set it up.
But do the meaningful legislation.
Do it anyway. That's not a reason not to.
You should do the best work you can possibly do, so the American people know that you're.
If he's going to try and just use the administrative state to get his way, this is where your oversight capacity in the House. You have teeth that you can bite back on this.
That's
and
right.
I know I'm preaching to the choir here because I know the Freedom Caucus gets that. I hope the rest of your caucus does as well, because that's what when I talk to my donors, when I talk to my activists, when I talk to anyone, I tell them I have this beautiful vision of the spring of 2025 where we are just banging down legislation, passing big bill after big bill, but that gets set up in the next Congress.
Absolutely, and it's a whole panoply trying to fix what's been happening in the last 18 months. And you know what? Oversight. I'm glad you mentioned oversight, because I have a list publicly. I've listed probably 10 or 15, but of hearings that we need to have. But there are more hearings. There's a lot, because we're going to have to use must-pass legislation. You're going to have to use the debt ceiling. They're going to try to raise the debt ceiling.
I warn people this is going to be the first thing that's going to be coming out the gate. You got to at least get a cup of, I was about to say make a cup of coffee, but I know my Mormon friends may not want the cup of coffee. But
glass of juice.
Yeah, I'll have juice and a cup of coffee. All right.
But I mean, so you have to be ready to go, and you can't wait to be ready to go until January. You have to be ready to go probably September. So it's outlined, ready to go. We win it in November. You start doing the change, because you're going to go into a lame duck session, Adam. And you and I both. That's what terrifies me the most.
Those votes that happen on Christmas Day,
exactly.
The worst in America.
Yeah, and they're going to do that because they're going to try to cram down this totally leftist agenda while Biden's there and they have the majority of both houses. So it's going to be rough. Pray that the filibuster stays in place.
I don't want to wake up on January 1 and see DC as the new state. That would be no. We got to keep that from happening here.
Well, Adam, thanks so much for joining me, folks. Adam Brandon, new book is American Perspective.
American Perspective.
I'm not allowed to shill. I'm just telling you, he's an author. That's one of the books he's written. Good friend, great leader, grassroots organizer, does a super job. Adam, thanks for what you do.
Thank you for what you do, because we exist to support courageous leaders like you. We're going to need that on the inside to actually, and I just know it's not trying to do that. That's a lot harder than just saying it. You do it every day.
Thanks, brother. So, folks, please tune in next time for another edition of What's the BIGGS Idea. Thank you.